We all knew it was coming, but not this soon. Exiled from the network. Exiled from Catholic AM radio. Exiled from cocktail parties in the diocese. But they didn't bury us deep enough. The boys are back with more guns, more testosterone, more going too far. El Intercesión de Santiago Matamoros. And the straw that broke the camel's back and outraged an entire network. The Forbidden Episode. Broadcasting from the basement of an undisclosed gymnasium, it is our pleasure to present TRAD Talk Radio Season 2 with your hosts, Frank and Brian.
And we're back on the radio.
We are back. Trad Talk Radio is down but not out.
Yeah, that's right.
So we're calling this is Trad Talk Radio 2.0.
It's Season 2.
Episode 1.
Episode 1 of Season 2. That's right.
Yes. We were previously on AM Catholic Radio for those who knew us in that incarnation, but it didn't quite work out the way we had planned.
We ran into some problems, didn't we, Brian?
We
had
did.
some trouble.
And I can't say that we were completely surprised by it.
Oh, no. It was no surprise.
And I even have a few of our listeners that came up to me afterwards and said, well, I'm surprised you lasted as long as you all did. So,
Oh, yeah.
I
Me
guess-
too, actually. I'm surprised we even got the show at all.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was like, what are you guys thinking? You know who I am. You know who Brian Williams is. You know that we're like a volatile mixture, the two of us together. It's like, this is the worst possible idea that you could have for your station in the kind of brand you're trying to promote. But I went with it. I was like, yeah, sure, I'll be on the radio. Let's do it.
Yeah, and I thought maybe it was an indication that the brand was expanding out and picking up some different styles for different folks. But the reality is, I think they were still looking to kind of just be kind of AM Catholic radio.
Yeah.
And we just weren't fitting in with that. It was a very interesting experience. A lot of folks, I think, well, I don't say a lot, but there were regular listeners who were disappointed that we went off the air.
Yeah, that's true.
And you know what? I guess maybe because this is the first episode of our new podcast, maybe we should just assume that there are a few people who don't know who we are.
Yeah, definitely.
Who are discovering the podcast, who have no idea about the prior Trad Talk Radio as it was on local AM Catholic radio.
Yeah, I think that's a good teaser. We got kicked off the radio, but here's an intro.
Yeah,
We'll tell
here's
you
an
about
intro.
that later.
So my name is Brian, and your name is?
My name is Frank.
And we started Trad Talk Radio because there was a local AM Catholic radio station in our area that said they wanted to kind of get a little tradition on the radio, a little different.
They said that.
They
said.
There was an untapped audience base that maybe wanted some programming as well, and we said, well, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And talk about things traditional, talk about things through a traditional lens. I think our only commitment was that it had to be entertaining.
That's true. We don't want to do anything too egg-headed or scholarly because Brian and I are not equipped for that. There's canon lawyers out there. There's theologians. They need to be doing the lecturing and the educating. We basically have a little bit of fun, a little bit of humor, and then if somebody learns something from that or is inclined to like go do research after having some fun with us, then great. But we're primarily here for fun and to entertain.
Yep. Yeah, we don't want to. I think sometimes with a traditional Catholic platform or a traditional Catholic show, the impression is that it has to be scholarly. It has to be
very stuffy.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't know. I just think it's you're not allowed to have a whole lot of maybe diversity in your approach to it.
Yeah.
And we didn't buy into that. So so that being the case, we have now taken it to a podcast format.
Yes, which I think is far superior because there's things we can do on podcast and on YouTube that we can't do on AM radio.
Correct. Now, having said that, for the good folks on Apple and the various platforms that will be carrying this podcast, it is clean. I think we have to designate that for the platforms, and so it is a clean show. It's a Catholic show, so
it's
obviously
a clean program. I want to give my strict assurances to families, the executives, whoever. This is a clean program. This is something you can play at work. This is something you can listen to with your kids and should.
Yes, exactly. It is multi-generational. That's the greatest thing we learned about our first attempt at Trad Talk Radio on AM radio, which was that we found a rather diverse audience. We had men and women and kids and their parents and grandparents, and I mean, I know folks in their 60s or 70s, and I know folks that were down in their teens and probably even single digits that were listening to this show and enjoying it.
Yeah, and more about the show. I mean, we intended it to be for a masculine audience, just for men. But there were a ton of women that I knew that were listening to the show and really enjoyed the show.
Yeah,
so
I think trad women are pretty cool about stuff, and
yeah, definitely,
and thick-skinned, and they can actually laugh. This idea that traditional Catholics are serious, or Catholic Amish, or whatever they throw out there sometimes. Yeah, they can have some pretty good fun too.
Not that we are like making fun of women. We do make fun of like different types of Catholicism and, and the weird expressions that come from that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We make fun of ourselves. We make fun of our circle of acquaintances, in a sense of just our environment. You got to be able to laugh at yourself.
Yes.
And you got to be able to laugh at what's going on altogether. So little approach that we take on it. So for those who actually were familiar with the initial appearance of Trad Talk Radio, and then they were getting into the show, as we know. For those who maybe weren't following along, we were on a AM Catholic platform that whenever they would put their shows up on YouTube, you would see maybe like 5 or 10 views. And
it was a very shameful state of affairs, this unfortunate network.
Just not a lot of folks finding it. Not a lot of folks finding an audience, and we came along and very grateful to the people who listened to the show and kind of really looked forward to listening to it every week, because we were on once a week, and they we would get 400 views an episode, which maybe is kind of modest, but regardless, we got 400 views and somebody else got like 4 views.
It's just, for me, that was totally shocking, because I thought, I just assumed we're going to do like a fun little thing where people that know us listen to it, and you get like 20, 30 views, but we were getting views in the hundreds. So I was like, I have to rethink everything about
I don't know that many people, so I know it wasn't people I knew. I mean, it wasn't just
definitely.
folks. It was more than just the folks that we know in real life or at church. So it kind of found an audience and was getting some really good momentum. And this was all in our first 5 weeks, our first 6 episodes.
Yeah, we have the best listeners. I mean, we get mail from the listeners. They have really great things to say, great ideas. So thank you again, listeners.
Yep. And then one evening, it was a Saturday night, we had to put up the message on our Facebook page, which if you are on Facebook, it's just Trad Talk Radio. But we had to put up the news that we were canceled.
The fatal evening.
Yes. We had received word in a email, I guess it's like a Dear John letter, that we had been canceled. And it was interesting. It wasn't that they didn't like our show. I think they said the only problem they have with their show was the tone, the content, and the presentation.
Yeah.
But besides that, I think they loved our show.
I have no
tone,
idea.
content, and presentation.
It was so,
What's left?
The whole thing was so weird. I mean, we had this success with in terms of views and listenership, and we didn't get an attaboy, no pats on the back. Nothing but a bunch of like radio silence. Put them, nothing. And I'm like, wait, hold on. If we blew it out of the water, like, wouldn't you go and congratulate somebody?
Yeah.
Your classmate that sits next to you gets an A+ on the test. Don't you like slap him on the back and say good job?
Yeah, it was weird. I think we got some good feedback after the first show, and then after that, it was just a lot of you're not doing this right. You're not doing this right. You should be more like this. You should be more like that.
Yeah, I think we were unwanted for reasons that remain unspoken.
Yeah, and of course
yes.
we're not. I mean, this is we're just we're not going to go into too much detail on that. No, but
we won't.
But it was. Here's the irony of it all. Our very last episode that aired, and of course these are all now ripped down from YouTube and disappeared from the website, and they're just gone. The memory hole. The memory hole. They're down. They're gone. They're not to be heard anymore. But it's interesting because the last episode that we actually got aired, because there's actually an episode that was in the can that we never got aired.
The forbidden episode.
Yeah, because we do have it. They did give it to us. So
we have it. They were extremely courteous, extremely graceful and kind, and I want to thank the network for furnishing us with the raw audio for the forbidden episode. Yes. So we're going to be dropping that soon for you guys. We want everybody to hear it. I've been telling people about it. A few of my friends and family have listened to it with me.
Oh, all right. And I have not shared it with anyone. No, you know what? I shared it with my wife, and that was it. Only one person that I've shared it with. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to sharing it with the internet, everybody.
Yes.
So it's a good episode. I think it's our best episode, possibly.
Yeah, I think it was definitely probably our best episode, and I don't know if it was the singular. I don't think it was the singular reason why the show was canceled, but I definitely think it was the straw that broke the camel's back.
Yes, definitely.
And it was ironic though because the last episode to actually air, which I think was our 6th episode in about 5 weeks on that show on that channel, was we spent about a whole entire segment thanking the network for giving traditionalists a place at the table. We said, you know what, AM Catholic Radio does have a place for traditional Catholicism and for a different format and something a little bit out of the box. And we went on and on about how awesome it was.
You guys are so great.
This is amazing.
This is not the typical experience with trads.
No.
And we want to thank you for being different.
We just profusely thanked them. And I think it was like 4 days after that we got canceled.
Womp womp.
We just said, whoa, all right.
I want to take back the very nice things I said.
Yeah, I
about
know.
that.
It's like, I had to go around deleting things off of Facebook, dead links to YouTubes that were no longer posted.
Oh, brother.
The other thing that I thought was really kind of funny was that we the day before we were canceled. I'm going to be careful. This isn't like I don't want this to be gossip, but we're not giving any names or anything like that. But the day before we were canceled, I was sent an audio recording of what I was told was the benchmark for how our show should sound.
Right.
And it was just a very AM radio mellow kind of NPR type of interview.
Sterile.
Yeah, just an interview.
Certainly.
Guy interviewing another guy. It was just kind of, it was very safe. And if anything was said that could have been edgy or controversial, you would miss it through all the, just kind of as you gloss over. I was told this is the benchmark. This is what your show should be.
And that's so sad because that show is that show for a reason because the artist that decided to craft that show made it that way.
Yes.
And then we made our show the way that we wanted to make it.
Yes.
It's like, why would you want to have Jennifer Lopez throwing javelins in the Olympics? Why would you have Michael Jordan try to go start a rap label? It doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like when you in the olden days, and I don't watch much TV anymore, but back in the olden network days of television, I think everything's streaming now, but you would have a hit show. So maybe like Miami Vice would be a big time show. And then the very same network would say, give me 3 more Miami Vices.
Oh, no.
And you just sit there going, you got 1 Miami Vice. You get 3 other shows that are good and original. But no, what would be the knee-jerk reaction? Just get me 3 more Miami Vice. The only problem was that the benchmark we're being given, I think we're getting like 20 times more views than that show.
Yeah.
So it was weird. It was like you're getting...
That is true, the benchmark show.
It was odd. It was like, I mean, you take... We're 15 times more views than maybe the next closest show, and you're telling us to change more to that style.
Well, that was another strange thing, Brian. The views, like I said, no pats on the back or anything for all the views, but the benchmark show is the show that's getting like 10, 15 views per episode, and we're up in the 400 or 500s.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Wouldn't you welcome that kind of success with listenership? Why not? What's going on? What's remaining unsaid?
Yeah.
That's something I've been grappling with. I lay awake at night staring at the ceiling.
Yeah. But yeah, Frankie's back. Frankie's back, and he's got a home now.
I'm not homeless
for
anymore.
a while there. He was homeless because this was his only source of income.
It was so horrible.
And they didn't pay us, which made it even worse. That was his only source of income. Because
I was like a wandering samurai from an Akira Kurosawa movie. I was taking out hits for gangs, rival yakuza gangs, teaching swordsmanship.
Frank Yojimbo over there, just wandering about like a Ronin.
Oh, so stupid! I lost so much weight. I was so hungry all the time.
He looks kind of thin right now too. I'm worried about him. But
eating rice and dumplings all day.
Yeah, it was kind of rough there, but you know what? So now we are back in a podcast format, which really kind of gives us a great freedom. We don't have to worry about. I wouldn't say we were necessarily that worried, but we don't have to worry about what somebody else is thinking of the show.
Yeah, we don't have to be looking over our shoulders whenever some kind of tone violation shows up.
Yeah,
we're not being tone policed.
Policing. Tone. I love tone because what is that? I heard that actually several times even before we were canceled, and I love that feedback. Tone. I don't know what you do with tone. We weren't yelling at anybody. We weren't being obnoxious. I mean, we had such a diverse audience, and nobody came along and said, wow, this show is deeply offensive, or or not Catholic, or I mean, we really try to strike a balance between entertainment, humor, a little information, in a kind of a traditional lens to view current events in the church and in the world.
Well, I mean, in the Forbidden episode, I did challenge the Knights of Columbus as an entire order to a sword duel, pistol duel,
Little preview
MMA
there.
fight.
Little glimpse into the Forbidden episode. Yes, you did.
Yeah, but mostly as a joke.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
I could tell you were
it was
joking.
a 71% joke.
I think when we play that episode, you'll see that it's obvious Frank isn't really looking to saber duel anybody, but maybe that was it. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll have to find out on that one. But I think, so I guess the next decision was we did have a few people early on who said, why are you on AM Catholic radio? Because if, I'm going to be honest, until we were on AM Catholic radio, I never listened to AM Catholic radio.
Yeah, the first time I listened to AM Catholic radio was after I was a guest on AM Catholic radio.
Yeah. And no offense against the Catholic part. I don't think I listen to AM radio. I just, you listen to...
the problem is not that it's Catholic. It's just like the presentation, the format, the content of the programming.
It's not exactly.
Yeah.
And it's, when you're driving along in your car nowadays, you're probably just putting on a podcast or an audio book. You're just not even... you're streaming your music. You're doing... So, I mean, it's kind of like...
if I'm going to get a lecture, I want it from St. Francis de Sales.
Yeah.
He can't entertain me, though. He's not cracking jokes. And
No. You know what? There's a place for St. Francis de Sales, and there's a place for knuckleheads like us.
Yes.
And as long as both are Catholic, we're good.
Yeah.
So we had people even back then in the early days. A couple of folks came up to me and said, "Why not a podcast?" And I said, "Well, we have a radio gig, and it was kind of a commitment we made." And as long as the commitment was made to us, we were going to keep the commitment, I guess, mutual. And then it was pulled away, which made it a very easy decision. But we really do believe that this is a much better format.
So much more flexibility.
Yeah.
Artistically, we can do what we need to do to entertain you, the listener. That's why we're here.
The only drawback I'd say is our recording location. We used to be able to go into a kind of tough neighborhood. That was maybe a drawback, but
sketchy.
A little sketchy
the
neighborhood.
Appropriate term, Brian.
Yeah, we found then we found a radio station there with their little dishes on top, and we went inside and we were able to record. And now we don't have that studio anymore. So
that's true. We basically had to start from square one. There was a donor who shall remain anonymous.
Mm-hmm,
You know who you are, anonymous donor, but you saved our bacon, buddy.
Yes.
Donated a full suite of podcast recording equipment. Didn't have to spend a dime on our parts to get recording again. And
greatest fans on the internet.
Oh yeah,
Trad Talk Radio fans actually got a full top quality podcast.
Oh yeah,
audio recording material.
Yeah.
The other thing that we had to do was we had to find a location. So we, the traditional mass is being moved to gymnasiums.
That is true. We've covered this in a lot of previous episodes.
Yeah.
The mass with Traditionis Custodes is being moved to basements.
Yeah. So we are in the basement of an undisclosed gymnasium.
Yeah, we can't tell you. We can't tell you where it is because the network has men everywhere. There's shooters looking for us.
Well, yeah, I think that. Yeah, we have to kind of keep a low profile. So
that's true.
We're just we're in a basement somewhere.
We are. We don't want to tell everyone where we are.
No.
Otherwise, the bishop will send the Carabinieri after us to clap us in irons and make us stand trial.
Hopefully, there's a Latin mass going on above us right now in the gymnasium. That would be fantastic.
You know what? No, hopefully he does because then that means the bishop has control of the Carabinieri. And he can go arrest enemies of the faith. That would be cool.
Yeah. So, besides that drawback, lack of windows, and it's a little stuffy down here, but we do have
rats.
The rats
are kind of annoying.
The bathroom has running water. I mean, so that's good.
We've got a janitor that comes through here with a mop every 10, 15 minutes.
I don't know if he's Catholic or not, but anyway, if we'll convert him.
Yeah.
Or are we still doing that? Do we still proselytize? Do we still evangelize really for conversion? I'm not sure in 2022 current year.
Oh, yeah. I think you have to respect people's religious beliefs more.
Yeah. I don't know. I think we're kind of, I think now New Church would say that we all go to heaven as long as you're like really.
Yeah. I mean, there's no hell anymore, so we're good. Like you can just.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the janitor. We're kind of teasing there.
Yeah. Maybe you can learn from the janitor. Maybe he's like some sort of Wiccan or like a high wizard or something like Aleister Crowley, and he can teach you how to shoot fireballs.
Oh, there you go. It's it's.
I would hate to just like force my faith on him, tell him about Jesus Christ.
There's a little bit of truth in all religions, Frank.
That's true. Oh, that's so true, Brian.
I think there's a lot we can. I think the listening church has taught us that we need to listen more and talk less.
You know what is in Catholic dogma? It's that everywhere, even outside of the Catholic Church, there's salvation. It says that, right? Wait,
no.
I have to
wait a minute. I
look
think
back in my
it's actually, I think,
textbooks
outside of the church, there's no salvation.
Oh.
It's the opposite.
Okay.
I think it's the opposite.
That's really different.
There's a Latin phrase, like an extra something salu.
Portuguese. Yeah. Extra ecclesiam non nullum salus.
Yeah,
that means there's salvation outside the church, right?
No, I think it's the opposite.
Oh, sorry.
No, your Portuguese is a little rusty.
Yeah.
So
I've been off the radio for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, no, yeah. 2 years.
Got to brush up.
We're both a little rusty right now. Thankfully, we do have our bourbon on the table, and a few beer cans as well. Catholic beer. I don't know if it is or not.
Oh, it's so great. No more AM recording studio. Excuse me, sir. This is a radio studio. You can't smoke in here. You can't drink in here. Sir, you have to stop brandishing that gun. People are getting worried.
What is that? What is that we have up here on the table, by the way? What do we have here with the sights?
We've got the blaster. We have a Savage 10 FCP in 308 with a Night Force Shiv optic mounted on it.
Very nice.
This is in case we have to defend our humble recording studio in the basement of an unnamed gymnasium from attackers.
If any modernists, if any modernists come charging in here trying to enforce a boring Catholic radio programming on us, we're going to go ahead and.
If any Freemason or agent of the Freemasons dares to attack us, I have something for him.
Watch out. So with this new presentation of Trad Talk Radio 2.0. And we'll drop the 2.0 here in a minute. But with the return
of Season 2.
It is Season 2.
Yeah.
With the return of Trad Talk Radio, it really does give us a chance to kind of reconnect with that untapped traditional audience.
Yeah.
Which I just, it's interesting. People will say that they want to kind of maybe reach that audience, but I just don't believe it. I kind of feel like they're still not, we were told kind of, or we thought at least there was a place at the table for tradition. And
they want to say it just to like prop themselves up.
But then when you go to sit down, they pull the chair away. And whoa, and then you land on your backside.
They're like, you're not actually supposed to sit on the chair. Like, just agree and then walk away.
That's a card table, the kids' table over there with the fold-open chairs. Go sit down over there. That's the table we were talking about.
There's a little paper tablecloth that you can color on and some crayons.
Exactly. We didn't mean the grown-up table, guys. Yeah. No, the grown-up table is much more relaxed and NPR undertone.
Yes.
Welcome back to Trad Talk Radio. This is Brian along with Frank.
Welcome to Catholic Radio News.
Exactly. Pope Francis today sat on an airplane somewhere. Anyway, that's not what we're trying to do. Nonsense. So
banish it.
Gone, be gone. So Trad Talk, the return of Trad Talk Radio is our chance to once again reconnect with you, the audience. Very excited about that opportunity. And without commercials.
Oh yeah, well we might have some
I forgot.
Special commercials in the future.
Yes,
we have a few ideas for commercials that are novel, not like the ones you're used to hearing on Trad Talk Radio.
Yeah. A little new variation maybe that products may or may not exist, but that's all right. Be good commercials regardless.
It's the thought that counts.
It is the thought that counts.
That's true.
Yeah.
Speaking of connection with the viewers, I want to reiterate our email has not changed.
Yes.
tradtalkradio@gmail.com. You got hate, you got love, let us know. Send hate mail, send kind words of praise. Whatever you do, don't send spam mail.
No.
Do not do that.
No. And you all did okay in the past. We could have done a little bit more, but again, we were kind of fighting through a tough platform. So I think now in this current environment, we can actually get a few more folks to listen in, and we really do encourage you to drop us an email, whatever it is.
Please do.
If you're on Facebook, I think that might be a little bit older platform, but at my age, I'm on Facebook, and Frankie is too. But at Trad Talk Radio, that's the name of our Facebook page, and you can also reach us there. You can put a comment publicly. You can message us on Facebook. That's fine. But let us know what's on your mind.
Please,
we welcome you back. We're glad that the interruption was not that long.
It wasn't too bad.
No, it wasn't. It gave us a chance to just kind of get our setup going here, and
I had a lot of time for prayer and silent contemplation while I was homeless off the radio. Without this show in my life, I just have so much free time.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we did talk about, we both talked a little bit about the Soul of the Apostolate by Dom Chautard. And,
what a beautiful book.
Yeah. You know, you have to remember that this is even as much fun as we have. It's a Catholic apostolate. If you are a Catholic, if you're talking about the church, it's a Catholic apostolate.
Yes.
And so there's a responsibility with that. So we absolutely are having a great deal of fun with this. We want to hear from you guys. We got the email address. We got the Facebook page. Reach out. I think now maybe one of the things that we would cover sometimes when we're on the radio, and maybe this might be a good time to go into that, is just talking about some of the current events.
Current events.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Little different viewpoint, because whenever you hear like a news break on establishment and Catholic programming, it's always just that it's a different approach.
Oh yeah,
and we try to have a little bit of fun as much as we can with it. But so there's a few things since the last time we were able to speak with you guys and gals. There was a few things that have happened that we could discuss. I think one of them that comes up is the synod on the synod, or the synodal process that the church is going through. This is the church
synodal synod on synodality.
And I'm not even going to fake like I know all that much about this. I really have a lot of this I kind of zoned out on. I know we did have this in our own diocese. I have friends who were kind of invited to that process. It's a format, I think, where like women can stand up. Some of the kind of more boomer age gals would get up there and yell for like female priests, and somebody else would get up there and yell for kind of like special blessings, and then somebody else gets up there and maybe they're not yelling, but you're kind of having like error presented along with folks just asking for Orthodox preaching, for example.
Oh, okay.
And then like the authorities, the bishop, and whoever that delegate or that person is who runs it, they kind of sit there and nod and everything and thank them for their participation, and it just seems kind of odd that you'd have.
That is very strange.
That you would kind of tolerate completely non-Catholic ideas being launched out like they're Bible.
If I was the bishop, I would not suffer such fools. I would strike them down with the crozier.
Come over here a little bit closer. Let me show you something here.
Silence, fool.
Seize them.
Yes.
So the listening church. And there's all these different.
I love that, the listening church.
There's all the during our show in the past, Frankie, I told you about a great Catholic named Gregory de Pippo.
Oh yeah,
the name that you love.
I love that name,
Gregory de Pippo. He's actually a friend in real life. Very good guy. He runs the New Liturgical Movement. It's actually not he runs New Liturgical Movement on the internet. He's a Latinist, and he's just a really good guy. And he pointed out recently on social media that the listening church at the synod.va YouTube page, they actually disabled comments because they didn't want to hear back from anybody when they posted something outrageous that only New Church TM could post. Like, unironically, they posted something that was just horrible.
Oh, when the comment box is shut down.
And they shut it down.
Yeah.
So he had to kind of share that he was listening church. There they go. And it was fantastic.
Oh, we listen, just not to you.
Yeah, listening church. The other thing that it reminded me of was the idea of dialogue versus proclamation. And there is just this craziness about running around dialoguing with everybody, and like I said earlier, dialogue.
Except trads. Hey, can we leave the gymnasium? No. No response.
Can we come out of our basement now, please, and do our radio show from up in the fresh air, maybe, or by a window? No. So yeah, dialogue versus proclamation, and if you read, if you read Scripture, I mean, what the church has always done is proclaim. I mean, that's what I don't recall St. Paul running around like just having conversations with folks and kind of entertaining nonsense. I mean, he was proclaiming the gospel. The church has always proclaimed, and now it's just, I shouldn't say now, it's like the last 40, 50, 60 years, it's been all about dialoguing.
No, yeah.
Like perpetual dialogue. Like, they're all still Lutheran, they're all still Episcopalian, they're all still pagan, and we're dialoguing, though. We got a position paper. Look, we made progress. We dialogued with them. So
stand aside, you effeminate man. This is my dialogue with the Albigensians.
Oh, could you imagine dialoguing with the heretics in the past? That never happened. Oh, so there was I actually read something. There's a very famous book, which you would have seen. It's actually down in the St. Anthony's Chapel bookstore.
Oh, really?
Gift shop. and Iota Unum. Iota Unum. It's a tome. It's a rather large kind of book stop or a doorstop kind of book, but it's written by Romano Amario. I think his name was Romano Amario. He was a theologian out of Switzerland. He actually was one of the experts, the Peritus or Pariti, who went to Vatican II with his bishop. So he's this guy is like just an expert, and he was a theologian, professor, linguist, maybe 1920s to like 1990 or 2000. He died in his 90s, but he wrote this book and he talked about the word dialogue, and this is even back like in maybe the 70s or 80s. He says that word didn't exist in the history of the church. Because before the Vatican Council, the Second Vatican Council, no one talked. Dialogue was not in any church document.
Really?
It was never dialogue. It was always proclaiming or teaching.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And some people go, well, you teach by having conversations. You proclaim by having conversations. It's not what he meant.
You can, but
that's not what he meant, right? That's not what he's talking about.
You know, my anatomy and physiology professor does not like dialogue with me to figure out what the Krebs cycle does. He just tells me. He points at the PowerPoint and he explains it to me and tells it to me. Like, you can learn by having a dialogue with people, like the way you and I do.
Yeah.
But if you are the professor and you have a student that clearly doesn't know, you proclaim it. You tell them.
Yeah. There's this Socratic method of knowledge, of learning, but at the end of the day, if you have the gospel truth, you're sharing the gospel.
Yeah.
And you're not just hey, tell me about your pagan religion and I'll tell you about the gospel. Oh, that's interesting. That's really cool. What do we have in common now? Let's see. Well, Christ was a guy and your pagan thing is a guy, and it's not how it ever worked.
Yeah.
So kind of so I guess from the standpoint of current events, just this final paper I think from the USCCB was completed. I'm not even going to get into it. It's a rather large document, and
you've had such a rough day too, Brian.
Yeah.
I would hate to see your face get all red.
Yeah,
talking about this
no,
nonsense.
I think it had they called it the synthesis or syntheses of the various synods around the country, compiled and kind of assessed, like synthesizing.
Oh, I'm confused already.
I don't even know what they're. I mean, I don't even know. It's like they're just like, here's a big mashed potato bowl of like all the stuff that we heard in our various dialogues in every diocese around the country over the last year. And
how long is it? How many thousands?
You know what? I gotta look. I don't even
document?
know. I don't even know how many pages it is. All I know is that you can spend like 2 generations not forming the faithful, and then go, hey, what do you guys think about transubstantiation? It doesn't make any sense.
Oh no.
Yeah. Anyway, well, enough about that. There was something else that I wanted to follow up on because it was coming up on our show quite a bit towards the end before the Faithful cancellation and the old season 1 of TRAD Talk Radio, and that was the Latin Mass situation in our nation's capital, in the Archdiocese of Washington, D.C.
Oh, they are at war right now.
Yeah, well, and you remember how there was that whole pilgrimage thing that went on? So
right.
They had a great turnout. I think they had 300 or 400 people marching from the Arlington parish to the cathedral in Washington, D.C.
Oh, that's good.
So they had a good turnout for that, praying the rosary, respectful, a lot of just faithful Catholics visibly, publicly showing their support for their masses. So that was a good event. But unfortunately, there has been the continuation of the promised shutdowns did occur.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And so you're talking about these parishes that have had, the Latin Mass going back for ages.
Yeah.
One in mind is St. Mary, Mother of God Parish in Washington, D.C. So I think with the exception maybe of like maybe 1970 to 1990 or 1988, there was like about a just under 20-year gap where they had the new Mass only. But for 100 or 150 years before 1970 and then since about 1990, they had the Latin Mass there.
Yeah.
Very stable community, very significant portion of that parish. Faithful, nobody complaining about anything. Pastor wasn't complaining. The fellow parishioners weren't complaining. Diocese still pulled him out. Archdiocese, Wilton Gregory, the cardinal, still pulled him out. Just disrupted their whole entire way of life, and just horrific.
Yeah.
They posted, I think, the day of their final Mass, traditional Latin Mass congregation. This is like the parish. I don't know if the pastor runs this page or who posted this, but it kind of came formally from the parish. Traditional Latin Mass congregation. You are missed. You are loved, and one day, hopefully soon, you will be back home in the parish church that you deserve. Thank you for your work and prayer over the last several decades. When the day comes, Old St. Mary's will be ready and waiting for restoration. Until then, keep the faith. Oremus pro invicem. Sad.
Yeah.
That's sad. And these folks are these are just Catholics who are going to Mass every single Sunday at that parish for decades.
That is really upsetting.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at with that whole situation. I did have a friend of mine who actually goes to Mass up in that area, and he lost his Mass. So he might have been Old St. Mary's, as a matter of fact. Now that I think about it, but he lost his Mass. So I'm going to go ahead and just read you something that he wrote, because I think it was very well said, and it's getting kind of serious here. But I just want to acknowledge, kind of what these folks have gone through.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I actually have a friend who goes to Latin Mass up there in the D.C. area. His name is Matthew. He's been a friend on social media for a long time, Matthew Balan, B-A-L-A-N. And he kind of articulated it very nicely. And so, again, in all seriousness, I want to share this because it really shows you what this means. When we joke about going to the gymnasiums, we talk about communities losing their Latin Mass.
If you don't laugh, you'll cry.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. We kind of make light of it at the moment in some ways, just because it's just horrific. But he wrote, Deo gratias, thanks be to God. That statement, which has been part of the Mass since time immemorial, sums up all that I think and feel about my parish, St. Mary, Mother of God, in Washington, D.C. The liturgy, codified and promulgated by Pope St. Pius V, which has been part of the parish life since its founding in 1846, with the exception of 20 years between 1960s and 80s, has nourished my spiritual life since I first attended Mass there in 2003. Sunday, September 18th, 2022, was the last Sunday where the Mass, still commonly referred to as the extraordinary form, was offered for the last time for the foreseeable future. Just shy of 20 years, I attended weekly Sunday Mass, along with Easter, Holy Days of Obligation, Holy Thursdays, Good Fridays, etc. I learned about Blessed Karl of Austria. That's a great saint.
Yes.
I learned about Blessed Karl of Austria through the annual Mass in his memory that I attended, and most of them. It goes without saying that I've also been blessed to attend and or to serve weddings, baptisms, first communions, funerals for multiple families over the years. First among these is the solemn high nuptial Mass where I entered into the holy state of matrimony just over 6 years ago. My wife and I started our family that day, and our weeks together have been anchored in the Sunday Mass. Even through the pastoral mismanagement, to put it mildly, of two bishops, one local and one universal, has displaced hundreds from our spiritual home, I hope that this is only a temporary exile. I hope I live to see the day where Introibo ad altare Dei is again prayed at the foot of the high altar. We put our trust in our Lord Jesus Christ, Christ the King, and the powerful intercession of Our Lady, the Holy Mother of God and Queen of Heaven and Earth, and we pray that she wraps us in her mantle of protection.
Oh, that was very scathing. Even I'm getting a little freaked out by that.
No, but I tell you what, well said.
100% true.
Well said. I mean, this is just a parishioner. Now he's active in the parish, and he's very knowledgeable in the faith, and like I said, he knows how to serve the Mass as well. But
just a parishioner.
Just a parishioner.
Like Napoleon's just a general. Yeah. There's so many great parishioners, laymen that really have a lot of things figured out. And when you meet one or you read things that they've written, you're just like, oh, wow.
I'm really in admiration of folks like that. The way they're handling the situation, but also just think about the liturgy that forms these faithful. Think about this liturgy that has nourished these faithful. And in this era where people don't even take going to church serious, where the general...
If they do.
Well, and I think it shows 80% of Catholics aren't even going to Mass on a weekly basis. Self-professing Catholics, 80% are not going to Mass on a weekly basis. And here you have communities where they drive to get to Mass, or they go to kind of sketch neighborhoods downtown. Where it's dangerous, literally dangerous for them, temporal danger.
Yeah.
And then the diocese just shuts it down.
We've talked about that in the past. I mean, people that sacrifice things to go to Mass versus people that sacrifice things to not go to Mass. Like there's some kind of baptism in the family or something, and they make up excuses.
Yeah.
Or they go and hide out, or they stand outside in a parking lot rather than go inside and be in the Mass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of telling of the fruits of what's coming from what, you know.
Yeah, no, I think we're not always going to talk about Pope John Paul II on this show, but he had a great one of his encyclicals. He had the phrase, I think this was what he called it, the heresy of the weekend.
Ooh,
and I love the
that's good.
expression because the weekend is a completely secular, made up concept. I mean, it's kind of based on the work week, the way it's developed as folks went from being agrarian and rural to being in cities, and then as you had the 5-day or the 6-day work week and all this kind of stuff. But the reality is, it's Sunday. Sunday is the day of the Lord. It's the day set aside. This idea of the weekend. So what happens is the weekend becomes, hey, my kid's sport is on the weekend. This is what we're doing Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And the idea of trying to fit in, again,
I've got to go to low mass at 4 a.m. so I can change over into a bikini and get on the boat, hit the lake.
Hey, you know what? If they're actually going to mass in the morning before they do all that, I guess that's
Well, thank God for that at least.
At least for that, yeah. But the reality is, it's not a priority for so many people. And then you hear, as like my friend Matthew, you hear these folks who are, this has been their life and their Sunday. Not just their Sunday, but their entire life is wrapped around this parish community, which is so incredibly Catholic, so trad, and should be bottled by the church, and should be passed along. And instead, they're shutting it down.
Yeah, that's a real shame.
Yeah, so that's kind of nonsensical. I think one more current event that we could maybe talk about, and then I think that's probably enough current events before our heads explode. But one more thing that happened, one more thing in the news. And
the current events are so bad. It's just like so much garbage.
Yeah,
take a break.
I know. It just drives you to drink. No, it hopefully drives you to pray.
Other things drive me to drink, meaning happiness, joy, delightful company.
When I'm happy, I
my
drink.
Friends.
When I'm sad, I drink. When I'm angry, I drink. No. As I'm looking at this bourbon bottle that we have on the table right here, but
this unopened
bourbon
bottle.
That's a crime. Why is it unopened?
It's going to send the wrong messages. The other bottles are going to think they're going to get away with it. No.
You cannot escape our clutches. All right.
You fool.
One more current event, and then we'll be done with it. But I do think it's worth bringing up that there was quite an event that happened in Italy recently. Land of the church, land of Rome.
Oh, yes.
They had an election, and it's fantastic because the news media is just losing it. So,
I've heard that the elected official in question is a figure of some controversy.
Apparently, yes.
Yes.
A very unbiased, middle-of-the-road source, the Washington Post.
A completely fair, balanced,
yes.
respected newspaper organization.
Yes. Said that on the election results, the right wing, I'm surprised it didn't say the far right wing, the right-wing coalition led by the Brothers of Italy, a political party descended from neo-fascists.
Ooh.
Took 44% of the vote and will almost certainly be asked to form a government by President Sergio Mattarella, and the new prime minister will be Giorgia Meloni.
Giorgia
Meloni is her name. I don't know how. I think she's like in her 40s. I'm not sure. She's not that old. But Giorgia Meloni, you would think, hey, the left might just be going crazy. Look, we got another woman prime minister.
That's great.
Progress. This is great. We got a female prime minister taking power in Italy. No, they're absolutely just livid.
She must be a really bad, yucky right-wing type person if the left is mad and she's a woman.
Oh, yeah. It's look, I'm looking at one tweet here from Jack Posobiec. He says, "Are you ready?" And it's Giorgia Meloni, kind of triumphant. CNN says Giorgia Meloni set to be Italy's first female prime minister.
Oh, wow.
I mean, this is like a historical thing here.
That's very progressive.
Yeah. And leader of its most right-wing government since World War II. You remember Mussolini, don't you?
Oh, you're not going to say that word, Brian. The fascist word. You can't say that.
They've been dropping fascism and Mussolini like crazy. They are so apoplectic, if that's the right way to say it.
Is she a fascist? Is she trying to get Italy to go attack France or something?
No, but I think I may be onto something. I found another tweet here, and I think this may be this may clue us in, Frankie, as to what the problem is.
Mm-hmm.
It says on Twitter she follows a lot of folks, but 3 of the folks that she follows on Twitter: Cardinal Raymond Burke, Cardinal Zen, and Cardinal Robert Serra.
Oh, no.
Yeah, she's a Catholic.
She might be a trad Catholic, too. That would be the worst. If a trad got in charge of some country
Yeah.
Everyone would have to, like the women would have to cover their heads in public. They would just make war. They would go invade other countries.
Yeah,
It would be
no,
terrible.
I don't think she's quite that trad. But I tell you what, she. So I think she does kind of sign off with Jesus, Mary, and Joseph.
Good.
She is all for telling the EU to stick it when they tell people to take crucifixes off their classroom walls.
Mm-hmm.
She defends the family.
Oh, that's good.
She basically is kind of angering everybody. In fact, you know who she angered? You're gonna like this.
Who did she anger?
Who did she anger? Massimo Fagioli.
Maximo Fagioli. Maximum beans. Now he's maximum anger.
yes. Apparently he and I didn't quite see what he wrote or what he tweeted, but apparently he, according to Roraticelli, a good internet source, according to Roraticelli, he was not happy. It says here, this is what they tweeted on the 26th of September.
I don't think Massimo Fagioli's been happy with anything. Every time I hear from him, he's
he's been
outraged.
He's been happy with the shutting down. When it's the Latin Mass being shut down or Pope Francis
okay.
uttering something that is completely not Catholic.
He's there like grinning and rubbing his hands together, right?
He's grinning in Villanova. Little Villanova grin. This is what Roraticelli said. It's really a fail-proof test. Anything, absolutely anything that makes Massimo Fagioli angry, upset, disappointed is good for the church and good for the country to which it refers.
Yeah.
If he is upset about something in the church, then it's something very Catholic.
I need to compose myself for the radio. Maximum beans.
If he is upset, it must be good for Catholicism, for the church, and for the country.
Ryan, this is like reverse probabilityism.
It is.
There's people that you know are just not exactly in line with what you believe.
Let's see.
To put it lightly.
Kind of like the enemies
Like
of my
maximum
enemies.
beings.
Yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
So if Maloney
if Father James Martin likes something or wants something, I know without a doubt. Like if he said that the sun rose in the east, I would be like, ooh,
it must.
Let's check Google for like astronomical anomalies that possibly happened. Like
no, he rises in the west.
It's like, what's his angle? He just said something true.
Ooh, no, exactly. Well, with maximum beans, I think it's pretty clear that if Maloney, if CNN and apparently, actually, by the way, the Archbishop of Bologna, the highest ranked prelate, besides the Pope, obviously.
Oh, really?
The head of the Italian Bishops' Conference wasn't very happy either.
Oh.
He released something about...
what's wrong with her, Excellency?
Yeah, well, exactly. It's a great question. What's wrong?
Yeah.
Apparently, she's also not really crazy about some of the social implications of the high level of immigration occurring. And
is she anti-immigration?
Yeah.
Oh,
you can't be that way in 2022 with Rome.
Really?
Yeah, I don't know.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so
I noticed they have a wall built around the Vatican. Are they anti-immigration too, while saying that they should be pro-immigration? I'm a little confused, Brian.
Yeah,
Rome's very confusing today.
It can be a little confusing, yeah. But all I know is that the folks who are not happy about her, and it's interesting. I heard somebody here who knows Italy a bit, somebody here in our hometown talking about Italy. And they said that to be right-wing in Italy is hardly to be right-wing because they're kind of left anyway. So it's not necessarily that, who knows how she's going to rule. But the very fact that that she is openly Catholic, that she's openly pro-family, that she's openly pro-Italy has got people flipping out,
Yeah. And then on the other side, I mean, if she doesn't restore the papal states to the Pope... if she doesn't undo the Masonic Republic of Italy, then she obviously another leftist.
I think the bar is it's not quite there. I think we have to be happy at the fact that she simply doesn't try to outlaw the church.
I'm just joking, Massimo. Don't worry, buddy.
Hold on. This is on behalf of Massimo. Hold on.
Yeah.
In case you weren't there for our first show, we have a first series, season 1. We do have a too far jar.
The too far jar. Anytime we go too far, money gets dropped into it. $1 silver to be specific.
You probably might want to put one more in there. I think we missed something earlier. I'm sure.
I will. Boom.
There you go.
That money goes to the poor box.
Yeah.
Not to advertisers, not to the network or anybody else.
No.
The poor box.
Correct. It is strictly for the poor. That's right.
Yes.
So anyway, I think, you know what, from the standpoint of current events, we got folks caught up on some of the significant events since the last time we were on the air. And
it was a nice mix. I feel like we had a really depressing current event, and then a current event that was, I don't know, kind of lighthearted in the subject of a lot of great humor.
Yeah,
a lot
I
of
think
great jokes.
I think we ended on
Yeah.
a good note with that. That's something to celebrate. We can celebrate, I guess, soon to be Prime Minister Meloni's victory in Italy, and
Yes.
we'll see how it goes.
Long may she reign.
But yes, we got to
Yes.
find that. We got to find political happiness in any kind of moderate sense that we can.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. So
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break, and then Brian and I will be back to talk more. And we're back. Brian and I had to take a brief respite to refresh on beer.
correct.
Consider cracking the bourbon open.
Correct.
Maybe.
Maybe not. Yep. But so we are back, and I think we're winding down this episode, second season, episode 1.
Yeah.
Winding down here, we wanted to kind of wrap up talking a little bit about the traditional Mass. So we're going to, again, just to talk about something here kind of important, the traditional Mass, and really what I think is misunderstood. The sin of pride, I think, is kind of hurled at traditionalists sometimes.
That's what they always say.
Yeah, and sometimes you plead guilty, yeah.
Yeah.
And it manifests. It probably is maybe one of those sins that we can struggle with, maybe more than others. Every
Maybe,
group.
but the thing I can't abide is when I say this is authentically Catholic. We should be doing this. Oh,
Yeah.
that's prideful.
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
just a prideful Pharisee.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Actually, I think what happens too is the perception is that by simply, as you say, proclaiming the truth or seeking authentic worship,
Yeah.
and that's all we're saying with that is we're going to worship as Catholics as Mass has always been.
Yeah.
That's what we're seeking out. We're looking to reject innovation, and
Yeah.
we're looking simply to live our faith in a way that's always been.
Yeah, go call Pius V a Pharisee. Go call Pope St. Pius V a Pharisee.
Yeah, and
Go
so
do that.
and what happens is, so it's this accusation is that it's pride, but what we're actually trying to do, what we're doing, I believe, and this is kind of the genius of the church. It's not the genius of any individual or the holiness of any individual,
true.
but is that the Mass and Orthodoxy and the liturgy, all these things conform us.
Yeah.
So we don't conform. We don't control it.
Yeah.
We have to conform to it.
There's this idea that we have to change the Mass into Life Teen or into any other kind of pandering versions of the Mass. It's like, no. I mean, the people will conform to the Mass and not the other way around.
Yeah.
The Mass is going to change the world. The world is not going to change the Mass.
Well, and that's kind of the power, and that's the biggest, to me, the biggest argument against the idea that the traditionalist movement is kind of a pride-filled movement or something that fosters pride. When done right, it's the opposite.
You know what, Brian? Maybe it is. But who knows? But the fact of the matter is that, like, Latin Mass is not an act of pride. It's not prideful because that's the Mass of St. Francis de Sales, of Padre Pio. Maybe the people that are...
And every saint in between in the Western Church, yeah.
Maybe the passengers on the train are prideful. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
I mean, but if that is the case, that doesn't invalidate the truth that the Latin Mass is the true Mass.
Yeah. And when the faithful are in the pew are there in a state of grace and with the right intention, the truth is that it's a great deal of humility that can and should and is fostered, because you're not. Think about the community that says we have the way we do the Mass.
Yeah.
We have the kind of music that we this is what we do. We do praise and worship music, and then we do and then Barbara runs up there to distribute communion.
Yeah, and you talk a lot about this too. The priest that will go, oh, if only my version of the Novus Ordo Mass were said.
It is such a common. We've talked about this before. It is such a common refrain among Novus Ordo priests, and again, they're Catholic priests, but they exclusively offer the Novus Ordo. And what they will often do when they really do try hard, I think, to make it reverent, what they end up saying is, well, my Novus Ordo, when done, is how it should be, is how it's done right. And I think that while their intention is good, you have to listen to what they're saying.
Yeah, that's true.
I've kind of cracked the code. The irreverent Novus Ordo, I've solved that problem. Just do it my way, Universal Church, which is really unintentionally arrogant.
Yeah, great. We're waiting for Father Kyle to figure the whole thing out.
Hey, Father Kyle's got to figure it out. He's finally been, somebody said, actually, and I mentioned him earlier in the show this evening, but Gregory de Pippo.
Yes.
In a recent symposium we had, he mentioned that the Novus Ordo is never going to be uniformed because it's not designed to be uniformed. It is actually designed to be a mass of, like, choose your own adventure.
Really?
If you think about it, this is optional. You want to do the Confiteor? I'll just do the Lord have mercy, Christ have mercy, Lord have mercy.
Yeah, totally synthetic, like a Lego set or something like that.
And then you lose a piece or two, doesn't matter because it ends on Eucharist 1, Eucharistic Prayer 2, Eucharistic Prayer 3. You want to do the one that was on the napkin that Bonini made up in the 60s. You want to do the one that goes back to the earliest centuries that's apostolic in origin.
Yeah.
Which one? I don't know. What am I feeling like today? How much time do I got for Mass? Maybe I'll go ahead. It's not designed to be universal and uniformed. This by design.
Yeah, this kind of reminds me about the Holy Name Society and what we do at meetings. Our parliamentarian, who's a older Italian gentleman that I know you're familiar with, he basically says that adherence to the rules of order and to rules in general is an act of humility, and it's something that you can gain really great merit for. For example, if you wanted to go fast and do penance and go crazy, you would gain merit from that, certainly, but you gain more merit from doing whatever your spiritual director tells you. If your spiritual director tells you to do one Hail Mary and you do that and you say the Hail Mary in a spirit of obedience, then you gain more merit than saying 1,000 Hail Marys on your own.
Yeah.
And the rules of order and rules in general, especially when they're set forth by the church, you have the opportunity to gain tremendous merit. They're so pleasing to God.
Well, it's a humility, too, if you think about it, because what's happening is you are giving over your will.
Yes.
And so
That's the only thing you can give God is your will.
Yeah, that's right.
Everything else belongs to him to begin with.
Yeah, that's right. That's a great point. And so it all comes from him, and we're simply giving him back, but they're trying to give back, but it all comes from him. He's the source of it all. And so with the liturgy, if you think about it, when you go to Holy Mass, the rules, the rubrics, the conforming is actually freedom. So you don't have to worry about, what praise and music worship someone's going to, whip out there, from the band. You don't have to worry about reinventing a Novus Ordo that's more reverent, in the new Mass, for example.
Yeah.
Because all you have to do is just, if you're the priest, offer the Mass. And we've said this before, I think. There's no offense to our priests, friends, and that we know, but it's not about you. I don't really care if you don't even give me a sermon that day, but you just simply offer the Mass, which is no one just simply offers a Mass.
You brought Jesus down from heaven.
Yes, I can't do that.
Nope, me neither.
I could say those words, nothing happens.
Yeah,
I could say those words all day long, nothing would happen.
It's terribly
I'd still be holding
blasphemous.
I'd be holding, besides blaspheming, I'd be holding bread in my hand at the end of the day. Still,
Yep.
It would not be the body and blood of Christ.
That's true.
So if that's all you are doing, thank you so much.
Absolutely. I mean, I know that every Catholic priest has an enormous amount of sacrificing to do, an enormous amount of temptation, and that these men are bringing Jesus Christ down from heaven for us, and it's a lot of hard work. So there's nobody that I'm more grateful to today than the Catholic priest.
No, exactly. And the priests that we know, the priests that offer the new Mass, in many cases, the ones that I know offer both the new Mass and the traditional Mass.
Yeah.
And to a person, they always say that offering the traditional Mass has made them a better priest.
Really?
They pray the Mass better. They offer the Mass better. It helps when they offer the new Mass, which I don't go to, but when they offer it, they say they offer it better because of their knowledge of and their experiential knowledge of offering the traditional Mass.
Lex orandi, lex credendi. Portuguese.
Yeah, Portuguese again. Yeah. So they understand that, And I was thinking about the Trent. So so much all the conversation nowadays is about Vatican II, the Second Vatican Council. But really, the Council of Trent is the council for our time.
Yeah.
That is the council. If you think about all the anathemas and all the error that they were addressing, that's what we have now.
Yeah.
I mean, really, it's modernism, but it's Protestantism is just one of those heresies within modernism that we're addressing now. And so Trent is the council for our time. And one of the things is the merit of the priest simply offering the Mass, how important that is. And Trent gives us those anathemas,
Yeah.
those canons, and what they're really doing is they're actually refuting, the errors that they had during the time to deal with. But Canon 8 from the 22nd session of Trent talks about this and says, if anyone saith that masses wherein the priest alone communicates sacramentally, that they are unlawful and are therefore to be abrogated, let him be anathema.
Ooh.
So we're talking about when the priest alone communicates. So it could be a private mass.
Yeah.
And see, this is a very significant understanding, which is there's the grace still there from that mass. So it doesn't matter if no one is there except for the priest, because the grace from that mass is still there. Secondly, if we are there joining our prayers with the priest at the mass and worshiping God, but we aren't receiving Holy Communion, it's still the same mass.
Yeah.
The difference between a service and a mass. And so that's where I think the humility within the traditional mass, it comes in from the fact that we want to be there, we should be there, we need to be there, but it doesn't need us.
Yeah, and I've said this before. I mean, it's good that you're at mass, but your job is not to waltz your way up to the ambo and start reading stuff out of Scripture.
Yeah.
Your job is to let the priest do his job, to follow him, and at least mentally and spiritually.
Join your prayer and join
Yes.
your sacrifice, if you will. You put your prayers up there with him when he's offering the sacrifice back to God,
Yeah.
to the Holy Spirit, to the Holy Ghost, and that's exactly what you're doing. And that's why it's so. I think.
And I'm not here to accuse anybody of pride, but I find it funny that the people that accuse trads of pride are always the ones that are monkeying around with the mass, restructuring the mass, treating the mass like a set of Lego bricks. It's like you don't mess around with the mass. That's the last thing on the face of the planet that you mess around with.
And there are consequences, and
Yeah.
and it's what is, are we doing the sacrifice of Abel, or are we doing that insufficient?
Ooh, it's bone chilling to think about.
Meal offering of Cain. I'm kind of going Abel on that one. And let's offer a true and worthy sacrifice to God.
Yeah.
That's what he's owed. And so I think that conformity. Just to kind of maybe wrap it up, that conformity, the fact that Mass requires us to conform,
Yeah.
it instills in us a humility, a docility, and again, it should do that. And you can just go and just your participation is just like a blessed inevitability of knowing what you're going to get. It's not that weird thing where people know this. Anyone who goes to the new Mass knows that when you travel, you don't know what you're getting. And you hear about these people. They go to the beach. They go a holiday to the beach, and and they walk into and they walk into a Catholic church, and they will just tell stories about they can't believe what they saw. What was going on there? That was crazy.
Yeah, you never know.
As in scandalous crazy.
Yeah.
And it's just sad because if they could just walk into a quiet chapel and just have a low mass being offered, and they could kneel and pray for 25 or 30 minutes when mass is going on, as it used to be, and just know. There's this blessed inevitability of a priest offering the sacrifice at an altar, and there's no personality being injected. There's no folks running up to distribute communion or to do a reading or whatever.
You know, if you're about to go to a restaurant and the restaurant says meat served, a menu item says meat, you're like, oh boy, oh boy. But if it says USDA or I'm sorry, Angus ribeye steak.
Yeah,
you have a much clearer idea of what you're getting. It's more specific.
Yeah.
That's technically meat.
Yeah.
But if it just says meat, then
it could be like a Big Mac. The other one, it could be like a center cut, nice steak.
Yeah, it could be
Tender
a rat that was cut open and thrown on the grill.
Yeah. Please let me have that Angus.
Knows?
I don't want to go with that grilled rat.
Oh yeah, this says chicken thighs chopped into tacos. Okay, good.
No. So anyway, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up, and just a reminder that again with Trad Talk Radio, while there's a lot of fun here, and try to make light of situations, at the end of the day, it's very much tradition. I think is just. Carrying on and trying to just be the Catholics that in the church that we've always been. It's not a going backwards. It's not a retro thing. Everybody's going forward because it's our own. this is our time. We only
Yeah.
have our time.
Yeah.
Ain't no reincarnation. Ain't no coming back around. Ain't no do-overs. We have our time, and we're living in this moment.
Yeah, and all I'm trying to be is a bare minimum Catholic. I'm not trying to be extra. I'm not trying to do anything too weird or above and beyond. All I want is the bare minimum that's going to get me into heaven. Obviously, I want to go further than that to please God, but the bare minimum today is something that is challenged and played with and hidden from people. It's insane.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I guess on that note, I mean,
this is a great note to wrap it up because
is,
actually our anonymous benefactor just walked through the basement door.
Yes, he's down. He's down. He found his way to the basement. Thankfully, it was our anonymous benefactor, and not anybody else who's out.
Snuck in. They have men watching every street here.
Hopefully, the network wasn't trailing him. He shook anybody that was following him in their car. You know.
Oh, do you think he might be an agent of the
network?
No. Is that why you gave us all this free stuff?
No. No, I trust him. I trust him.
Maybe we can give him some truth serum or something and interrogate him a little bit later.
That's bourbon, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, bourbon, truth serum, same difference.
Same difference. All right.
That's what
we got it parked over there next to the sniper rifle, so it's good.
Yeah, that's right.
And the rosary.
And the rosary.
That's right. The rosary is to the sniper rifle is to antagonize Maximum Beans.
Maximum Beans,
and I think
the rosary is to antagonize Maximum Beans too.
Also antagonizes them. They're both very Catholic, which I think he's kind of struggles with.
You get him a 4-decade rosary so he can do the luminous mysteries on it. Do they make those?
Oh, we're gonna definitely call it a show now.
Oh boy!
Oh, yeah.
Before we do this.
Yeah, we were bad. We were doing so good, I think, and then we did that.
We went too far.
Well, good. Well, anyway, so I think for our next episode we'll see. But the little birdie told me that forbidden episode may be coming up here in the season 2 very shortly.
I think another little birdie told me the same thing, Brian.
Yeah. So really, it's a season 1 episode, but it's what got us banned from AM radio. So we'll call
it was an outrage.
We'll call it either it's an early season 2 episode now. So we'll get that one queued up for you guys next time.
We hope y'all enjoy. We've been hyping it up a lot, but we didn't say anything that was at all un-Catholic, and probably not too many offensive things either. I was kind of like astounded that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Yeah. It's a good episode, but it's nothing like too fiery, too crazy.
No, exactly. So I hope you enjoyed this first episode of season 2, and if you are new to the show altogether, please remember there is no season 1 because it was deleted from all. You cannot find it anymore.
You might be able to get a black market.
There may be some
bootleg recording.
Yeah, some bootleg recordings of it. Yeah, that'd be good.
It's still playing in theaters in China right now. So
no intellectual property is stolen. We're getting no money from that, no royalties from that.
We don't know anything about that at all.
No.
Network's going to send more shock troopers after us. Oh boy!
All right. Well, on that note.
Yeah, we'll talk later, I guess.
Until next time, Frankie.
Yep, later.